Alright, that's it. Gotta go. I gotta load up this on YouTube and I gotta load them on Patreon. You can see all the previous episodes on Patreon. The only reason why this is on YouTube is because it's the 1st of August. Hopefully not the only of August. Hopefully I get time to do more of these videos. Hi. It's been a while since I've done one of these videos. 3 months to be exact. Well, not necessarily exact, give or take a day or two. It's January 1st when I'm recording this of 2017, and I thought I would wrap up. I would do one more video to wrap up the past 3 months of artwork that I've done. So welcome to episode 20. So last time I did one of these videos, first of all, I didn't have this glorious beard. I grew it because of No Shave November, and then it became December, now it's January, and now it's turned into more along the lines of, I just too lazy to get rid of it. And I kind of like how it looks, so, yeah. I was also working on Book of Red. I was finishing up Book of Red, and, still doing Been Better, Dark Crusader, and Good Cop, Cat Cop, so let's get cracking and talking about comics. Good Cop, Cat Cop, written by Derek Murray, drawn by me. It had a bit of a hiatus, so there's only 3 strips to talk about in that long-ass time period. The one where Cat Cop drops a dead bird into the suspect's lap, the one where Cat Cop throws up in the guy's shoe, and the one where Cat Cop knocks down the Christmas tree in the interrogation room. While I do like the idea of a random Christmas tree being in an interrogation room, I think that's pretty wacky. And I like the reaction of those two looking at the vomit-filled shoe. It's the dead bird in the lap that is my favorite out of those 3. A lot of times it's just Cat Cop being a dick to either the suspect or Good Cop. But that was the first time that Cat Cop's strategy actually got results. Book of Red took forever to finish this year. But eventually I got it done. So Joey gets in the weird racing game. He learns the value of listening to Fred. He gets saved by a driver that we find out is actually his brother that he's been looking for this whole time. So now that the brothers are reunited, they get into a boss battle, which starts off with these guys, and they have to run away from them, and eventually it becomes one big giant monster. They defeat him. He becomes a doorway where there's the ringmaster, and he welcomes him to the Paz, which is this mysterious cottage in this weird kind of dimension where they meet the Mistress O'Clocks. One thing I would like to mention about that cottage in the Paz is that it's designed to be like a sundial, and the shadow is actually on the time that Joey and Keith's mom mentioned at the beginning of this chapter. So they meet Mistress O'Clocks. They go inside her cottage to get the prize for being her maze. The boys magically end up back at home to exactly the spot where they left off in the beginning of the chapter. And that's it for Keith and Joey in chapter 3. As for Fred, we see him back at the library about to put on a record, which is Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, by the way. And while Fred is getting ready for a night of relaxation, Bookworm's over here releasing women out of books that go and attack Fred. We find out that her name is Arena, and she attacks him pretty hardcore. And we find out that the kids all can sense what happened. We're not going to know what that means for the kids until summertime when chapter 4 begins. I had planned on doing a little prologue before Christmas, but that didn't work out as planned. I still want to do it, I just don't know when. I've got a lot to talk about the Dark Crusader. The first strip we'll talk about is where Dark Crusader fires Dark Avenger. Now I need to put some stuff in the background. So this one right here I decided is Dark Crusader's 0-year suit. Over here he has a bowling trophy that he earned at the Superhero League night of bowling. This right here is a dagger. I figured that it would be the same dagger that Phil used when he was interrogating a cop. I figured that Dark Crusader has it in his trophy room. This one right here, I figured is the original helmet that Dapper Hazard used when he started, being a criminal. The next strip is the prison riot, where Phil is attacking the members of Hydrant. I love drawing the security room. I love the idea of Phil smashing Dapper Hazard's head into the camera, and then I love this one because those are Phil's zealots. We kind of saw them in one strip earlier where, I mean, if you look at his leg rest, his foot rest, there's a guy with a tattoo of Phil on his forehead. In the next few strips, we get a new hero, some new villains, the return of a sidekick that we thought had moved on to bigger and better things, a new mystery, and a crossover between Dark Crusader and Good Cop, Cat Cop. Now, the next few strips I was really excited about because I'm a big fan of Pumpkin Spice, and this was a story arc for Pumpkin Vice. In the first comic, the script asked for a throne much like the throne from Game of Thrones, which I think it did pretty well. But it's also inspired by the doll head throne that the Joker sits on in The Killing Joke. 3 things I'd like to talk about this panel. 1, that's the first time we've seen the Dark Mobile in its full glory. 2, I'm pretty sure the guy sitting on TV was inspired by shades from Luke Cage. And 3, I looked at a lot of Riot images to make sure I got the colors, resembling a real Riot with all the smoke in the air. And the story arc just had a lot of really fun things to draw. From trying to recreate the creepiness of Bankman meeting Slimer in the first Ghostbusters, to rocket launchers, and we finally get to see Pumpkin Vice blast someone with his spice gun. The last Dark Crusader comic strip I have something to talk about is the holiday shopping riot scene. For example, if you look at Dark Crusader and Phil in the back, just behind them is still some of that Hail Hydrant graffiti that the Stagehand gang did in a way earlier comic. Now, the people in the foreground that are fighting over the blue box, they are inspired by 2 characters that I saw while watching The Exorcist, the TV show on Fox. And I really love this panel. 1, because I really like drawing Phil in this suit. It's parody of the Penguin scene from Batman Returns. And 2, I really like the close-up image of Dark Crusader and Phil. It just shows the cockiness of Phil. Alright, almost done. Now let's talk about Been Better. The first comic is about me trying to convince someone to vote for Jill Stein, and them telling me that it's my white privilege that allows me to vote for Jill Stein, which is something I heard many times and is completely incorrect. Then there's this one, another Rick Once Was comic. I haven't done one of those in a while, and this one was him becoming a magician, and I really love the idea of his hand going into the hat, which is the bunny dimension. And I'm not entirely certain that I won't go there again. The A3 explanation for August was the American Ambulance Association, which I drew Russ trying to save me and me telling him, just let me die. Which is something I totally told him to do. Because I went on that, I've had an ambulance ride before, and it costs a lot. There are 2 things I can say about this panel from the next strip. 1, I could tell I was watching Wreck-It Ralph by the people in the background. And 2, the guy in the foreground is my patron from my Patreon page. You could be featured in a Been Better comic strip once a month if you become a patron. Just saying. Then I drew the comic about people claiming that Jill is anti-vax, which is not true. Oh, hey, look, it's my patron again, and he's in this comic strip that's basically just an advertisement for my booth in Long Beach Comic Con. Now, this comic of the Boston Pirate might just be my favorite strip of the whole year. Did you try it? Did you try reading it in your best Boston accent? It's a lot of fun. You about to be wicked batted. Ah! The September A3 explanation was the American Aging Association. The next comic was about 24-hour comic book day, which I love doing. And on the right over there, the orange, yellow, and white squares, I guess, are supposed to be books that I was selling. There are 2 things I really like about this next strip. 1, Nathaniel's a teacher, and I really want to draw him grading a paper that was a complete F, like just horrible. And 2, I'm a huge fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so this gag was a lot of fun, drawing a pumpkin version of Buffy. This next strip featured the porn star Alexis Fox as we tried to shoot down Prop 60. Prop 60 was this awful condom law that special interest groups tried to make happen in California. And as far as Alexis Fox being featured in the comic strip, she actually asked to be in the comic strip. Yeah. Cool, huh? In fact, I put her in 2 things in October, and you'll see when I get to it. I had to draw a strip of the people that always say, voting third party is throwing your vote away. In October, my friends at Fantastic Feasts and Where to Find Them, they're a YouTube show, you should really check them out, had a live show and included me in their advertising campaign. So naturally, I had to make a comic strip of my reaction. There was also the comic I wanted to address those who refuse to vote for a liberal. I wanted to convince them to vote for Gary Johnson. I mean, it really wasn't about getting people to vote for Gary Johnson. I was just trying to steal votes away from Trump. which clearly didn't work. No! One of my comics was about my cosplayer friend Dorian Black and his years of dressing up as Batman. And right there, the Aquaman, that's actually me, and it's one of my fondest memories of Comic-Con. We went to the masquerade ball, and we were dancing, and I turned to him and I say, do the Bat Tuesday. Well, you know, it's really loud music, so it's more like, do the Bat Tuesday! And he's like, what? Do the Bat... You know that dance on Pulp Fiction, the whole... He's like, yeah? Do it! Why? Just do it! And so he did it, and all these people started clapping because, you know, it's Batman. It's the Bat Dance. It's the dance that Adam West made up for Batman, for the Adam West for his show. This strip is about the SAG-AFTRA voice-over strike against a bunch of video game companies. And that was back in October. The strike is still going on. It's pretty messed up. I mean, it's messed up how the actor's being treated. I really don't think anyone understood this comic. It was a pretty weird Sound of Music reference. Yeah. I saw someone with LA Dodgers hat and I was like, haha, you know, law, a note that follows so, right? I don't know. This strip was a reaction to the reactions that I've received after John Oliver tried to discredit Jill Stein. Suddenly there was a huge flux of people repeating quotes from that video as if they were political parrots. This strip was just an advertisement about the panel I was going to be in, the Sketch Fighter panel. It was pretty cool. It was the first time I've ever been to the LA Comic Con, you know, formerly known as Kamikaze. And no, it was pretty cool. I had a lot of fun doing the sketching. I actually dressed up as Ernest because, you know, that was my Halloween costume, was Ernest from Ernest Scared Stupid. October's A3 explanation was the American Avalanche Association, so I made a reference to Frontier Psychiatrist done by the Avalanches. Avalanches? That's it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the band's name. This strip is actually a prologue to the pumpkin slice video that I put on my YouTube channel back in Halloween. Go check it out. It's pretty cool. The song is written and sung by Adrian Selena. While you're checking out videos on YouTube, you should really definitely check out her channel. She's got some cool ones. Adrian does the voice of the narrator for the video. Alex Reitzman does the voice of the monster, and you might recognize his name because he's the voice of Pie Guy. He actually also does the voice of himself in the video. Christian Barrick, he plays himself. Elliot France also plays himself. And remember that I mentioned earlier that I put Alexis Fox in another project. And there she is, sitting in the coffee shop. November starts with November Guy, again with the lady friend that he made last year. I have a basic outline for what I want to do with their relationship. I just don't know if I want to be sad or happy. Still haven't figured that one out yet. Of course, I had to make a comic celebrating the death of Jack Chick, drawn in a similar style to his own. May that guy rot in hell. I wrote this strip because I saw that Bernie Sanders was a write-in nominee in California. I was still going to vote for Jill Stein. I just drew this comic because I thought it would be a funny idea to have, you know, Bernie Sanders in the background of my mind. Even though I'm pretty confident he will forever be in the foreground of my mind. I drew this comic because I know a lot of people who weren't even going to vote because they were so annoyed by this presidential race. And there were very important prompts to vote on, and I didn't want them to just completely ignore everything. So voting day finally came, and I was so confident that Trump was not going to win. But then I got home and saw the results. I totally didn't know what to do. I was kind of like in a state of shock when I came home and read my Facebook feed and saw the news reports. I mean, I'm still freaking out about it. It's never going to be normal. But I actually called Christian. I contacted Christian, and Christian talked to me and gave me my ambition back. And I really appreciated that. So first I had to make a comic about my emotional turmoil. The immediate sadness in finding out the news, then the resolve, and then after that, I finally made a comic of Christian's phone call that helped me out. I'm actually trying to remember if it was a phone call or text messaging conversation. This comic I actually made just so I remember. I have a short story idea I want to do, and so I just wrote this to keep that memory alive in my head. I made this comic because one of my exes got married. I'm not entirely certain if she still reads this comic strip. No idea. But it was definitely for her.
There have been many times where I've used Angry 8 as just the representation of all that's evil in the world. So I figured it's logical to put Angry 8 in Trump's cabinet. This is another comic that I don't think that a lot of people understood.
I think I could have done a better job drawing Don Knotts.
This comic was made because I found all the supplies I needed to make a protest sign at one convenience store.
Adrian actually invited me to go to this little rally. Our side was to protest another rally going on to celebrate Trump. So we were protesting their celebration, which is why I made this comic. When Adrian told me about it, I didn't know that they already had plans for the rally, the protest rally. I thought that they were in the process of making plans, so I suggested that we make signs that discredit their movement by making them really silly. While everyone had reasonable political messages on their signs, my friends did not. As you can see in this screen capture that I took off of the other side's YouTube channel, there's me with the farted one, there's Christian with the Ryan Reynolds one, and then there's Tom with a puppet Trump that I drew. They like my puppet sign so much they even zoomed in on my buddy Tom. I'm pretty proud of it. The demonstration was in Upland, so clearly we had to stop by Rad Coffee. This is another comic made just to keep a memory alive in my head. I really want to make a comic book of my papa's experience in World War II, but I think I'm still going to have to convince him that it's a good idea. He doesn't think it will sell. This comic was made to make people feel guilty about not helping the water protectors in North Dakota as they fight the pipeline, which inspired me to spend my Black Friday weekend doing free drawings at 4-Color Fantasies. There were so many ways I could be helping them that I needed help deciding which way I was going to go, and it turned out that everyone said that I should help with medical supplies. I actually plan on doing charity drawings at 4-Color Fantasies once a month. I actually decided that it's going to be the last Wednesday of every month. Oh look, it's my patron. Oh right, in October I didn't put him in the comic strip. I put him in that pumpkin slice video. The November A3 explanation is the American Australian Association. It provided me with a chance to bring back that saying I did a long time ago of nobody hits a koala. I don't even think that saying or even Bo the Koala got even that popular. It's not like Pie Guy or anything. It amuses me. I like Bo so much that I even put him in a comic in December, along with a photo of his real-life counterpart. The A3 explanation for December was the American Awasi Association. And in that first panel, I drew a character inspired by Maya Rudolph in the Bill Murray Christmas special on Netflix. This year, I want to start something different. I want to do a theme. So I looked up a bunch of groups, a bunch of organizations that had the words American and Association in there. So I found 12. So every month is going to be a new one. Boom! 12 months of A3 explanations being American associations. The last comic I want to talk about for this year is this one. Look, there's my patron, and he's holding a Phil doll. I'm so glad I'm done with this video. It was exhausting doing 3 months. I'm going to really try to keep up with these videos so I don't ever have to do that long of a conversation again. Not that I don't mind talking with you guys, it's just, that was a long one. I want to keep it short and sweet. Alright, so hopefully next week I'll do the first week of 2017. Yeah. See ya. Thank you for watching. See you next week. See you next week. Adios. I'll see you until next week. I'll see you in March. I'll see you next week. Till next week. See you later, guys. Until next week. I'll see you. See ya. See you next week. Till then, I'll see you later. I will see you next week. Hope to see you there. I'll see you next episode. Yeah. See ya. Until next time I record a video. See ya. I'll see you next week.